These 12 pharmacy chains are closing right now. Something very serious is happening to your local pharmacy, and almost no one is talking about it. These 12 major pharmacy chains are falling apart. Some are shuttering hundreds of locations at once. Others are disappearing from the map entirely. But the part nobody wants to say out loud is this. The 48 million Americans now living in pharmacy deserts are not a statistic. They are your neighbors. They are you. Number 12, Cur Drug. The first chain on this list is one most people have already forgotten, and that is exactly the point. In the southeast United States, Cur Drug was a household name. Founded in 1951, it grew to hundreds of stores across North Carolina and the surrounding region. It was the pharmacy where families picked up prescriptions, where the pharmacist knew every customer by name, where medicine felt personal. Then Revco swallowed it. Then CVS swallowed Revco. And the Cur Drug name disappeared without a single announcement, without a farewell, without anyone admitting what had been lost. Cur Drug did not close dramatically. It was quietly erased. And that quiet erasure was the first signal of what was coming for the entire industry. Number 11, Revco drugstores. Long before Rite Aid filed for bankruptcy, before Walgreens started closing stores by the hundreds, Revco drugstores showed exactly where this was headed. In 1988, Revco collapsed into bankruptcy. It was one of the largest retail failures in American history at the time, with more than 2,000 stores across 18 states going dark at once. CVS eventually acquired what was left in 1997 for around $2.8 billion. The brand disappeared. The warnings disappeared with it. Every chain falling apart today follows the exact same pattern Revco showed in 1988. Nobody fixed the underlying problem. They just slapped a new name on it and moved on. Number 10, Long's Drug Stores. For nearly 70 years, Long's Drug Stores was woven into daily life across California, Hawaii, Nevada, and Alaska. Founded in 1938 in Oakland, Long's grew to 521 locations with wide aisles, deep inventory, and the feeling of a store that genuinely belonged to the neighborhood it served. In 2008, CVS Caremark acquired Long's for approximately $2.9 billion. The familiar logos were pulled down. The name was retired from the signs, and the stores that had served those communities for generations became just another CVS, identical to every other CVS in every other city. For longtime customers, it felt like losing something irreplaceable, a community anchor disappearing behind a corporate rebrand, never to return. Number 9, Osco Drug. Illinois, Indiana, Minnesota, Iowa. Osco Drug built something real in the American Midwest. Founded in 1942 in Rochelle, Illinois, it grew to hundreds of locations. The kind of pharmacy where staff recognized faces, where shelves were stocked by people who lived in the same town, where picking up a prescription did not feel like visiting a corporation. Then American Stores absorbed it. Then Albertsons absorbed American Stores. And one by one, Osco Drug locations were rebranded, shuttered, or handed off to bigger chains. The name is now essentially dead across most of the country. Not because customers stopped showing up, not because the stores failed, because a chain of corporate mergers decided that regional identity was worth less than scale. They were wrong. And entire communities lost something they still miss. Number 8, Drug Emporium. Drug Emporium called itself the one-stop shop, the place that carried rare, hard-to-find items you could not get anywhere else, the store where something new was waiting for you on every single visit. For customers in Ohio and across the Midwest, that was not marketing. That was the experience of walking through the door. In September 2024, Drug Emporium's Ohio pharmacy locations closed permanently. The official reason was high costs. But the real story is one the entire industry knows. Pharmacy benefit managers, the corporate middlemen controlling prescription reimbursements, have been slashing what pharmacies get paid for years. Many locations are now reimbursed less than it costs them to fill the prescription. Drug Emporium did not fail its customers. A broken system finally broke it. Number 7, Good Neighbor Pharmacy. This entry is different from the others. Good Neighbor Pharmacy is not a single chain. It is a network of more than 3,500 independently owned pharmacies across the country, neighborhood operations that have served communities for generations, and it is falling apart. As of 2024, 20% of its members already operate in or directly adjacent to pharmacy deserts. Nearly 1 in 3 independent pharmacy owners said that year they might be forced to close within 12 months. These are not faceless corporations shuttering locations to protect shareholder returns. These are family businesses, pharmacists who know their patients by name. They are disappearing not because they failed, but because pharmacy benefit managers have been systematically underpaying them for years while pocketing the difference. Number 6, Bartell Drugs. In 1890, George Bartell opened a drugstore on Jackson Street in Seattle. Over the next 135 years, Bartell Drugs became something far beyond retail. It was part of the fabric of the Pacific Northwest, with folksy signs, friendly clerks, and the comfort of a store that had outlasted everything around it. In 2020, Rite Aid purchased Bartell Drug Company. Then Rite Aid filed for bankruptcy. Then Rite Aid filed for bankruptcy again. And Bartell Drugs, 135 years old, was dragged into the collapse. On September 27, 2025, the very last Bartell Drugs locations closed permanently. 135 years of history gone. Not because Bartell failed its customers, because it was consumed by a larger chain that was itself falling apart, drowning in a debt load it could never escape. Number 5, Duane Reade. If you have ever lived in New York City, you know exactly what Duane Reade meant. Not just a pharmacy, an institution, open at 2 a.m. stocked with everything. The store you ran into before catching the subway, during your lunch break, after midnight when nothing else was open. In 2010, Walgreens acquired Duane Reade for approximately $1 billion. Since then, 143 Duane Reade stores in New York City alone have closed, shuttering one by one as Walgreens' own collapse accelerates. The signs are coming down. The windows are going dark. The brand that once felt as inseparable from New York as the subway itself is disappearing from the streets of its own city. The neighborhoods that counted on those stores are being left with empty storefronts and nowhere to go. Number 4, the medicine shop. Founded in 1970, the medicine shop built its entire identity around one idea: a pharmacy should feel like a local business, not a corporate floor. With hundreds of franchise locations across the United States and Canada, it gave independent operators a brand and a fighting chance. But today, those franchise owners are losing that fight. Prescription reimbursements have been cut so aggressively by pharmacy benefit managers that many locations cannot cover the actual cost of the medications they dispense. In Minnesota alone, 44% of all pharmacies have closed in the last decade. Medicine shop owners who invested their savings, built real patient relationships, and showed up every single day are watching their pharmacies disappear, not because they failed, because the system around them is collapsing. Number 3, CVS. CVS was supposed to be the winner. When Rite Aid was collapsing, CVS picked up the pieces. When Walgreens was shuttering locations by the hundreds, CVS was still standing. But winning a broken industry does not mean surviving it intact. Between 2021 and 2025, CVS closed approximately 1,171 pharmacy locations across the country. In 2024, The company cut 2,900 corporate jobs as part of a $2 billion cost reduction plan. Its bet on healthcare clinics and insurance has not paid off the way leadership promised. The stores that remain are quieter. Pharmacy counters that used to have 3 people working them now have 1. Even the chain that outlasted everyone else is contracting bleeding locations, bleeding staff, and leaving behind communities that needed those stores to stay open. Number 2, Walgreens. At its peak, Walgreens had a market value of more than $100 billion and operated over 8,500 stores across the United States. It was one of the most recognizable retail empires in American history. By 2024, that market value had collapsed to below $8 billion. The company reported a net loss of $8.6 billion for fiscal year 2024, nearly triple the loss from the year before. It announced it would close 1,200 stores over 3 years. By 2025, private equity firm Sycamore Partners had acquired the entire company for $10 billion, taking it private and splitting it into 5 separate businesses. Walgreens is not completely gone, but it is falling apart in slow motion, closing 1 location at a time, in 1 neighborhood at a time, leaving behind empty drugstore windows in cities that built their routines around those stores being open. Number 1, Rite Aid. In 1962, Alex Grass opened the first Rite Aid, a single discount drugstore in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Over 6 decades, it grew into one of the most powerful pharmacy chains in America, with more than 2,200 locations at its peak. Generations of communities depended on it for prescriptions, health screenings, and the basics when there was nowhere else to turn. Then the debt became impossible. The opioid lawsuits arrived. The margins fell apart. Rite Aid filed for bankruptcy in October 2023. Then it filed again in May 2025. By the end of September 2025, every single one of the remaining 1,240 stores had permanently closed. 63 years gone. A 2024 study found that 46% of American counties are now pharmacy deserts. For millions of people who depended on Rite Aid, nothing is coming to replace it. Leave your thoughts below on what this means for your community. Subscribe for more. See you next time.